How are you doing, sir? What's your name?
My name is Jones.
And why are you here today?
I'm here to protest against the Nazis and the fascists.
And how do you expect to do that besides the little sign you have here?
Maybe a bigger sign like the one over here.
Very good. Well, where do you stand? I mean, obviously, we're all here because of Kessler's movement. And what do you think about him?
I think he's someone who really promotes criminality against humanity. He's someone who denies some of the greatest atrocities which have ever happened. And unfortunately, he has a big fan base, implicitly and explicitly. So the people that are following him that will come to Charlottesville, come to D.C., are a small fraction of the people who share his views, who share his version of history.
And one of the issues that Kessler has,
yes,
is the taking down of historical monuments, such as the statue of General Lee. How do you feel about that?
I feel like his whole language is dishonest. Those aren't historical monuments. They're monuments which specifically glorify some of the greatest criminals against humanity. So they present a very distorted version of history. So you have monuments to General Lee that don't mention that he was a deserter from the United States Army, that he mutinied against his commanders, that he took weapons from the United States and turned them against this country. He took his training from West Point. Robert E. Lee was a West Point graduate. He reneged on his oath. He turned against his country. And he led the deaths of more Americans than Adolf Hitler. That's very, very serious. Why are we glorifying this? I was at West Point a few weeks ago. Our young officers are standing under monuments to someone who committed desertion and mutiny. These are the highest crimes under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Why are we glorifying somebody like our monuments? Why aren't we glorifying his opponents? Who fought against him? Who beat him? All right, 10% of the Union Army was black. Who were those people? Where are their monuments? Why do we have so many monuments to criminals?
Well said. What about monuments to slave owners? You know, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson.
I have very similar feelings, and those feelings are echoed by Thomas Jefferson himself. So he wrote, "We must tremble when we think that God is just, and we understand that a fraction of our population has no loyalty to us because they're being abused." He wrote this. The person who designed this city, Washington, D.C., who surveyed the boundaries and designed it, was a black man named Benjamin Banneker. He wrote to Thomas Jefferson, complaining about Jefferson's treatment of his slaves and asking for justice for blacks, and telling Jefferson, how can you claim to be just? He also wrote a lot of scientific things to Jefferson. Jefferson loved the scientific writings of Benjamin Banneker. He was evasive in responding to the moral issues and the issues of justice. Where is the monument, the Banneker monument? Because Banneker was actually much more of an advocate for freedom consistently than Jefferson was. Where are the monuments to the people that Jefferson tracked down, his own slaves who escaped? He put ads in New York. I saw an ad in New York City put by Thomas Jefferson for one of his slaves who escaped, who was captured. Jefferson had him tortured when he came back to Virginia. Where's the monument to that guy? Because that guy really sacrificed for freedom, far more than Jefferson ever did.
Great. Is there a website? Are you with an organization that you want to mention?
I don't have an organization that I'm with per se. You can find my public page on Facebook. My name is Jones Murphy, and I have a public page on Facebook that you can look where I discuss it.
We're here to support equality, to support freedom, to be against hate, against racism.
What do you expect Kessler's message to be today when he gets here?
I have to confess, I couldn't care less what his message is. What's much more important is our message, that we are as strong as everybody is together. It's about uniting people, it's not about dividing people. So I couldn't care less what he wants to say. What we want to say is that love is what conquers, not hate.
But you're also here because of what he and his group have been saying.
So I'm going to say...
It's important to listen to the enemy, if you want to call it that.
I don't think he's my enemy. I think you'll see when he comes in, I think it's going to be significant. This community coming together, this is what the significance is. And I guess I should say thank you to him, to give me an excuse to be here with these people who want more love.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
been able to hold a peaceful rally. We've been able to uphold free
No one
speech.
came, Jason. Are you disappointed?
Get out of my face, dude.
Just a question. Are you disappointed?
I'm not
about
disappointed because we did a peaceful rally and we upheld free speech. And after the violence that occurred last year, people were rightly scared of coming out. They were scared that they were going to get attacked by mobs of people. They were scared that they were going to get arrested when they fought back. And so we had to prove the point that we could do this rally and people could be safe. People on my side and people on the other side. So I don't care about the turnout, whether you have 15 people or 15 million in America. We respect the free speech rights, even of political dissidents, and I think the DC Police Department and the federal law enforcement did that. They protected my safety and my speech. They protected the rights of the counter-protesters' safety and speech, and so that's something that I'm proud of, and I think that the city of...
What happened to the bus?
Something that I think the city of
alt-right
DC
broken?
should
What
be
happened to
proud
the
of.
bus today?
I'm not in the alt-right. I'm trying to do white rights. I think the alt-right is broken. I think that they're over the top and they are legitimately hateful. I don't think that the alt-right was the way it became when I first got into it. It was a much more moderate thing, and it was more about humor, but I think that they've lost their way.
They're calling you white supremacists over there.
No, I'm not a white supremacist. We were marching with white people. We were marching today with black people. We were marching with Hispanic people, and I watched as white liberals were coming up to my Hispanic and black supporters and giving them the finger and saying, "You sold out. You betrayed us. You betrayed your people." And why do these white liberals think that they own people because of their skin color?
Why do they
I think
call
there's
you a white
definitely
supremacist?
because there's been a lot of lies. I think that there's a whole racial grievance industry out there with the SPLC and the ADL that have been trying to make the citizens of DC scared. I've been listening to the news coverage and it was like a terror attack was happening, and it's just speech. Speech does not hurt
because of
people.
what happened last year, that's why.
What happened last year is because the Charlottesville government allowed it to happen. There was an independent review. Former federal prosecutor Tim Heaphy said that it was the city's fault when the first outbreaks of violence happened. Instead of ending the violence, he said, let them fight. It'll make it easier to declare an unlawful assembly. And people don't know that we had a permit, just like the president said. People don't know that 5 days before the event, I talked to the city manager of Charlottesville, Maurice Jones, and he's admitted this under oath, that I said I was afraid that the police were going to stand down like they'd done in Berkeley, California, and they didn't give a damn about that. They stood down just to spite me. They threw their own people, even the Antifa and Black Lives Matter, into a gristle mill of violence so they could shut down speech they didn't like. They promised me 8 squadrons of police officers. They promised me they were going to create separation between the protesters, but there were people on both sides who came armed to the teeth, and this has got to stop. Like, let alone the civil rights abuse that happened with the Charlottesville government. We've got to stop attacking each other and shouting over one another about things we disagree about. I've been constantly on the radio trying to tell people I'm willing to talk about white civil rights with people who want to talk to me about black civil rights or Black Lives Matter or whatever. I think we've got to start having these conversations. The bad elements of the alt-right, the elements of the alt-right that legitimately are neo-Nazis, are being made more extreme when more moderate voices with legitimate grievances of white Americans are not allowed to be expressed without being called white supremacists and having people be attacked. So many of my supporters
Why don't we just fight for American rights, human rights? Why are we dividing this into races?
People only use that criticism against white people. I've had that criticism many times, but I'll be patient and explain that there are already advocates out there for black people. They have the NAACP, they have Black Lives Matter. They have many white people who are standing up for them. Jewish people have AIPAC, they have ADL, but there are no advocates for white people. No, I'm not condemning the KKK. I'm not condoning the KKK. In their time, the KKK were mass vigilantes, racially motivated violence to oppress the free speech of people they didn't like. And today, Antifa are doing the same thing against white people.
What are you trying to accomplish with a rally like this?
Antifa are the only mass vigilantes attacking people because of their race at this rally.
Jason, what's the next event?
What's that?
Have you seen any Antifa burning crosses like the KKK used to do?
No, they hate white people. They're different.
But it's not the same.
Hate, whether you hate white people or whether you hate somebody else, hate is hate. And the fact that we can't acknowledge that anti-white racism is just as bad against racism of other groups is part of what's holding us back.
Jason, what's the
We've
next
got to respect one another.
What's the next step?
I'm not sure. I'm going to have to decompress. I think this was a big step, you know, because it was peaceful, man, and that's the main thing. And people got to speak. It wasn't perfect. I think a lot of my people got left behind at the train station. We thought we were going to be able to bring our flags, and then they changed the rules about polls at the last minute. But I'm not going to complain about minor things. We've got a lot of big issues to tackle in this
What do you think their message? What do you think their message?
What happened with the bus?
Wait, what do you think? Let him answer. Let him answer.
I don't know what their message. I don't know what their message is, because I think that they're very confused, because I've been listening to the same news reports that they have, and they thought a terror attack was going to happen. They thought people were coming out here to hurt people, but I've been clearly trying to say that this rally is not about hurting people who are black or brown or Jewish. This rally is about standing up for the rights of white people, and I think that we need to move to a place, as white people become a minority in the United States and Europe by 2050, that white people are allowed to unequivocally stand up for their rights without crossing the line into hatred, and have a conversation with people who are civil rights advocates for other racial groups, and perhaps we can come to more understanding. A lot of people are having trouble getting on board with that, but I'm telling you, when you try to censor people like me who are trying to unify and trying to be more moderate and trying to extend a hand in friendship, you're only going to frustrate people. The white identity movement is not going to go away. People are just become more. I disavowed neo-Nazis. I told them I do not want them at this rally, and we did not.